Time to talk about Cisco's less edgy platforms. By the end of this video, we will be able to describe the different router platforms that can participate in an SDA fabric. Cisco router platforms aren't designed to be at the edge, but they can participate in SDA fabric by being control plane nodes or border nodes for us. In this video, we're going to explore all of the different routing platforms that Cisco makes available to us for SDA fabrics. We have two main platforms we want to talk about here: the Integrated Services Routers, or ISRs, and the Aggregation Services Routers, or ASRs. Let's start with the ISRs. Specifically from an SDA perspective, we're going to support the 4300 line and the 4400 line of ISRs. ISRs are generally focused less on performance and more on features. For example, we're going to deploy ISRs into branches so we have voice over IP support. And hey, we can actually, believe it or not, install a small UCS server into ISRs in order to give remote branch functionality that we might need. Now, where ISRs focus on the features, they're not really focused on performance. I mean, it's plenty for our branches, for example, but when it comes to service providers, that's where the ASRs shine. So from an ASR perspective, we have 1000s and 9000s. However, the 9000s are not supported in an SDA fabric. So we're really focused on the 1000s from an SDA perspective. As mentioned, these are built for service providers and large enterprise networks, and their focus is on performance. We care a lot about the bandwidth and the table sizes, for example, because a lot of times ASRs are actually on the public internet. And so being able to support the entire public internet routing table is an important feature for the ASR. However, from a feature perspective, we're not going to get the full voice over IP feature set on an ASR. We're not going to see UCS servers installed into ASRs either. The focus on ASRs is on that performance rather than the feature set. Now, either one of these routers will be supported in an SDA fabric as long as we get the right model. So when it comes to picking one over the other, a lot of it's going to come down to, do we need the features of an ISR? Or specifically, do we need the bandwidth and the table sizes of an ASR platform? However, the options do not end there, because we live in a world of virtual routers. And so Cisco also has platforms that we can deploy in the virtual space. And specifically, they have two different platforms they support as part of an SDA fabric. For one, the Integrated Services Router, virtual ISRV, and the Cloud Services Router, which is the CSRV. Now, what's interesting about these two virtual routers is that they share a feature set from a software perspective. They both run iOS XE, and so they're going to have a lot of the same features. However, ISRs are intended to be run on Cisco hardware, specifically that ENCS we've mentioned a few times, the Enterprise Networking Compute System. The ENCS is going to allow us to integrate network interface modules, or NIMs, in order to still leverage these features that we want out of an ISR. However, the Cloud Services Router is designed to be deployed into the cloud. Go figure, it's in the name, right? And so from a cloud perspective, we could deploy this into an Azure space or Amazon Web Services, or yes, even into our own virtual environment. So if we have our own hypervisors in our own data center, then we could deploy it there as well. So if we have Cisco hardware, or again, we need the features that an ISR provides, then an ISRV would be something we could consider. However, if we want to deploy this into the cloud space, well, an ISR can't go into the cloud space, we would have to have a CSR. So as you can see, we have a lot of different options from a router perspective in an SDA fabric. Just keep in mind that all these platforms are only capable of either being control plane nodes or border nodes. And as always, make sure to go back and check the Cisco website that we looked at in the last video, because it's always best to base our purchasing decisions on real live data. So consult with that document, consult with your Cisco partner, or call Cisco directly. Either way, always do your research before going out and procuring hardware. And with that, you are now able to describe the different router platforms that can participate in an SDA fabric. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.